Lybek is going to present that. She has been with DOT since 1990, so 28 years. And in her current role, she enjoys advocating a robust database. So I work with folks like her in our region, and it's really important to have good database on where they provide access. Rita encourages everyone to maintain good database records, which is most important, especially for court cases. And she's also a motorcycle instructor on the side, so she enjoys that for in her part-time. You want Rita?
Thank you. So a wizard was tooling down the road in his car when he turned into a driveway. Well, you will be happy to know that my jokes, like my bits of advice, are free and they're worth every penny. So Federal Highways encourages states to think of their transportation system as an asset. In fact, they require states to have an asset management plan for highways that are in the National Highway System. Asset management and access management has kind of a symbiotic relationship with when you're thinking about all the components of the assets of that transportation system. Access is certainly a part of it. And when we're making access management decisions, we want to consider how that fits into the asset management plan. Wisconsin knows that access data is very valuable. We wanted to have a repository in which to keep all that data. So we had a system created called Management System, or HAMS, because we don't have enough acronyms, right? So I'm curious who's in the audience. Raise your hand if you use a database that is not HAMS for your access information. Okay, a few people, good. All right, so I'll give you a quick overview of HAMS. What is it? There's a couple main components. There's a web-based component and a GIS component. With the database, the web-based database, because it's web-based, it can be used 24/7, it's always accessible, and it can be accessed anywhere that you have an internet connection. It can even be accessed on a smartphone, I found out. With the GIS component, you need to be connected to the DOT intranet, and the computer has to have ArcGIS installed. Because of that, if I get a chance, I'll only be able to show you the database portion. So there are a lot of reasons we created this. One of them is to consolidate data. We know that we consider a lot of information when we're making access management decisions, to try to consolidate a bunch of that information. We wanted to improve turnaround time when you're accessing all that information. If you're having to run around an office searching different files, it takes a long time. We wanted to reduce mistakes. Again, all that information, if you can gather it all in one place and focus on it pretty intently, it's going to reduce mistakes. So as far as who can use it, there are a lot of different disciplines who can access this system and use it. Real estate can access it. They'll need to know what information what the access controls are on a particular parcel when they are figuring out values. Highways designers can use it. When they're designing a roadway, they're going to need to know what the access controls are in that area. Same with planning. When they're planning out future road improvements, they need to know what access controls there are in a roadway. Managers can use this. So if they are being asked, hey, what's going on with this particular access point, we're able to actually go into that system and see what the status is of it. Maintenance can use it. If they want to find out, they're out in the field and they see a driveway being built, and they're wondering, well, is there a permit for that? Maybe there's no one on site at the moment, and they want to know, is this a legitimate driveway? They can go into the system and look to see if there's a permit issued for that driveway. And of course, access management folks are the heavy users of it. Oh, is there a driveway seal? Well, let's do like our driveway seal and take a deeper dive into it. What kinds of valuables can we store in it? We can store a lot of valuables, and I don't have time to tell you about all of them, but I'll cover some of the variety. we can put in this database connecting highway agreements. So when we have an agreement with a local municipality, one of the things we might need to know is who's controlling the access, because we may have the municipality control the maintenance of it, but we may decide that we're going to keep the access management piece of it, or maybe we decided to let them control it, but we need to know that. So those can go in the safe. Memorandums of understanding or memorandums of agreement, same thing. We're creating an agreement with a municipality, and we need to know what's in that agreement, so in the future, when we get another request, we can find out, well, what was agreed to earlier. Conditional use permits. In Wisconsin, we have review authority for conditional use permits, so we can comment on them, but we can't object to them, but we need to look at them, need to be able to store what comments we sent to the municipality. Same with survey maps. We can review them, we can't object to them. And also zoning changes. Municipalities send us zoning changes for us to review and comment on. Subdivision plats, we do have objecting authority to them, so we certainly review all subdivision plats that are on the highways. And generally there's a lot of documentation with those, a lot of contact points, so we end up with a pretty good size file for those. 8425 authorizations. So in Wisconsin, Statute 8425 gives us the authority to impose controls on 1,500 miles of highway statutorily without compensating for it. So, and the document that, there are several documents that we have to record in order to do that. So those we need files of. We also have a statutory process we need to follow to declare these highways controlled access. So we have a place that we can keep all the documentation to show that we followed the proper process. Purchase access modifications. Real estate purchases access sometimes with highway projects, but occasionally we'll have situations where we end up modifying that purchased access. So we can specifically save information about doing those modifications. Access covenants, sometimes we are recording access covenants with property owners. Contact information, it holds all the contact information for any person who ends up being a part of any particular request. Any miscellaneous inquiries we get, if somebody's calling us asking any type of question that has to deal with access, we can create a file, put that information in there. Especially sometimes you get people who are shopping for answers, so they'll call one person and kind of ask a vague general question. We can put that in there, and then if they call another person, that other person can look and go, oh, I see you already talked to so-and-so. The answer's still the same. And of course, driveway permits. That's kind of what generally our big business is the driveway permits. Those files go in there as well. So some things are stored in HAMS, and for some things, HAMS accesses other systems and pulls information in to give you that consolidated information. But we certainly want to, for example, let's see, with deeds, when we are purchasing access, we don't want to have to store the deeds in the real estate automated data system or READS. We don't want to store it in their system and store it in our. For purchased access after 1999 are stored in their system, the deeds themselves. When we get deeds back from the Register of Deeds, they're barcoded and they can be automatically scanned into the system. So they've got some good automation. Some of the deeds are e-recorded before they're saved into their system. We can also pull from that real estate system data about the parcels. Their system has fields in their database that stores a lot of data points for their fields. It stores the address, how the access was purchased. I have a list on my slides. For example, if access was purchased at all, sometimes it's not. what the tax ID number is for that parcel, how it was, advance was used, what the DOT parcel number was on our right-of-way plat. We assign parcel numbers on that plat to each piece. Also accesses the right-of-way plats. For historical plats, it accesses scanned copies of those right-of-way plats. For anything after 2005, it's pulling in high-quality digital originals with the vector graphics. We have delivery standards for the plat preparers so they know exactly how to go and do our stuff. Not cooperating, Rudy? Runs a batch utility every night, and it pulls the CAD geometry from MicroStation DGN files and from AutoCAD DWG files, pulls that into a storage area that HAMS can access. Can also pull information from Wisconsin's Department of Administration from their statewide parcel boundaries database. They gather information from all the counties about the tax parcels, and that information includes the boundaries of the tax parcels that we can access in our GIS system so we can see where the actual parcels are. Can also put in a lot of roadway data. For example, it can pull in the speed of a particular piece of roadway, crash rates, roadway widths, shoulder widths, federal class code, traffic forecast, all kinds of different things, level of service. If there are known improvement proposals for a particular area, which if we're thinking about granting someone access, we really want to know, are there any proposals to change things around there? So let's have a little bit deeper look into HAMS itself, into the database piece. And I'm going to get an error. Maybe we won't. That's what I get for letting you guys mess around with this computer earlier. All right, let's see if we can do it now. Well, they had to reboot the computer, so it lost its internet connection. And that's what I'm trying to get to, is the internet connection. Oh, it worked so well when I practiced. Let's see, I guess I need to tell another joke. Do you know why you never see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. All right. Really, it looked good. Let's see. Do you know the difference between may just get jokes. Anybody can roast beef. I know, keep my day job, right? If I want it to display what's on my screen, what do I need to do, Rudy?
this
Yeah,
is,
okay.
the computer is on dual screen mode. She is on a different screen that is never going to
Yeah.
show up here. So we have to
Let me-
change the screen
And
display.
that the trackpad doesn't work. That's okay. We'll if you want to see,
Try the Windows key and the P key.
and they're running it in,
Windows.
it's a Mac computer
Mac.
running in a Windows system, so that makes it even more interesting. That's okay. We'll not worry about it. If you
Yeah,
want to
it is.
see the actual database, I'd be happy to share with you this afternoon. Drew Kotke, can you stand up, Drew? Is one of our experts in the field also. He, whenever we have problems with the system, that's why he's so willing to help now, he's the person that I call all the time. Hey, Drew, how do I make this work? If he doesn't know, he shows it. Yes?
Do you have utility permits in there too?
As I was doing, and I think I mentioned earlier, maybe not, the question was, do we have utility permits in there as well? When, with this system, it's one of my future slides. One of the drawbacks of it or challenges with it is that it can do so much. It's such a powerful system that even I don't use all of the features of it. As I was doing research for this, I found that something that said utility permits should be put in here as well. So should be. I'm not sure how we'll make that happen in the future. Okay, so yeah, if you want to take a look at the actual system, I'd be happy to show you later, but I don't want to kill too much time trying to do the technology here. So some of the benefits of the system, it happens in real time. So if someone calls me, that person who's shopping for answers, someone calls me and they ask me about something, and as I'm on the phone with them, I enter that data into the HAMS system, or enough at least to give someone else the gist of what just happened in my conversation. And then 2 minutes later, they call one of my colleagues and present the same question. They can go into this system, search, and find that, oh, you just talked to Rita 2 minutes ago. Did you have a different question for me, or do you want me to give you the same answer? So real time. It's very easily accessible. As I said before, as long as you have an internet connection, you can get into this system. So if a driveway coordinator is out in the field reviewing a driveway location, and they're standing at that location, they can go into the system, and if they think, oh, I forgot to check whatever data it might be, they can go in right there, find that information out. So they don't have to drive all the way back to the office, drive back out again to take another look. So it's saving some time to have it be that easily accessible. Helps us give consistent messages and decisions. As I said, when you have those shoppers, sometimes we have people who, we do have people who call once every 5 years asking the exact same question. I think I have one that I have documentation back that they should be calling in about 2 more years to ask for the 4th time for the same driveway that we're going to tell them the same answer. Consistent decisions. And you know, let's see, when did the Paperwork Reduction Act happen? Like 25 years ago or something? And I'm sure none of you have any papers on your desks anymore, right? Because we all got rid of all of our paper. With this system, we'll be able to reduce or eliminate the paper files, get them into this system. The statute does allow us to have electronic records be the official record, so we don't have to keep the paper. So as long as it's all in there, we've confirmed it's in there, it gets backed up every day, we don't have to keep that paper anymore. And as I said, there are a lot of diverse resources accessible all in this one place because it's accessing so many other pieces of information. Just going into this one system that I can't show you gives you all the information you could possibly need except for physically looking at the location. All that information is right there in one spot. Some of the challenges of it, there's a lot of incomplete fields in that system. When the system was created, I think about 2004, 2005, we had boxes and boxes and shelves of records historically from the 30s and 40s that we hired people to scan them in and at least get them geolocated and get a little bit of information in. But each file in the system, because it's taking in so much electronically, has a lot of fields for those historical things. Not a lot of those fields are populated. As I said, I doubt there's anyone who is using the system who uses it to its full capabilities. Always finding new tricks. In fact, I was talking with a colleague on Tuesday here and had said, oh, you know, I was working on something, and when Drew started, he went around figuring out how are users using this system. And this gentleman said, Drew said to me, well, that's not how I just watched someone else do this same task. They did it in a different way. This is interesting. You can do tasks in different ways, approach them differently, which means, and when he was told, hey, there's this other way to do it, it's like, oh, great. Now I know 2 ways to do the same thing, get that information in there. So it's always exciting to learn new ways to use that system, but hopefully someday we'll all get so we can use every piece of it, get every dollar's worth out of it. Sometimes there can be a data input delay. So that person who's shopping for answers, if they call me, and then as soon as I hang up the phone, someone else calls me, and I didn't get a chance to get enough information in, I may not get to it for a couple hours. Maybe a little bit of a delay in getting that information in. If we enter a request in, we call each file a request. If we enter something in to the system, say we enter it in as a street or as a driveway permit, and change their minds, they decide it's just going to be a subdivision instead, we can't change the request to a different type because each type has different fields, because there are a lot of diverse things we put in there. And right now we have no automated input for driveway permits. We're hoping to get to where applicants send electronic driveway permits that this system can pull the fields from it and automatically populate it. Right now, people are basically sending in paper driveway permits, and we have to manually enter everything. Some of the possible growth areas, we may decide, one thing that I was thinking might be useful is adding some additional data points, some additional data fields in there, because there's only 4 million right now, we should have 6. May help with some statistical analysis. Of driveway types in there, so we tag whether it's a right-in, right-out, or a full access, or having site distance in there. That may help figure out more specific information for analyzing crashes. Well, is it because it's a right-in, right-out? Is it because the site distance was poor? Pulling all that information electronically would be a whole lot easier than folks having to pull crash reports and read through them and figure that out, and then look at the driveway locations to see what factors were there. Right now, with searching for particular files, it's very limited. You get one field to search for. So maybe you get to search for the PLSS of a particular request. You can't narrow it down by the property owner's name, or trying to think what else I like to narrow stuff down by. That's a big one, narrowing it down by property owner. You get one field with no narrow downs. So being able to do that would be really cool. Drew's over here taking notes so that he can fix it all for me. So what you need to remember is that if you're having trouble getting out of your driveway, you should use your backup plan. And with that, what questions do you have?
In the management, access management, that's the same HAMS, right? HAMS, is it? So WisDOT maintain 2 different databases. Asset management, access management, they are 2 separate, it's not joined. Is that right?
Correct. So the asset management that's required for federal highways is a whole different system, a whole different process. But we want to always keep in mind that look at access management holistically and think about this other stuff that's going on with asset management when we're considering our access management decisions and when we're looking at when we're This is basically what I'm talking about is the computer system we use to store data. I keep finding the dead spot here. Computer system we use to store data. We want to consider what's in the asset management plan when we are making access management decisions and putting them into this system. Someone else has got it first.
Oh, thanks. Sorry if you already said something, but is this something that other local governments can tap into and utilize, or is this strictly just for WisDOT, or is it kind of
So
like the
I am-
Whistler system where anybody can log in and track their own information?
Great question. I'm actually going to defer that. I don't know if you know, Drew, what the protocols are for who gets access to it.
Technically, there's no reason locals couldn't access it. So by policy right now, it's just used internally by DOT, but our READ system, the other system I work with, we do have locals using that and a lot of the consultants using that. So we should have that discussion. If locals have a use for the HAM system, technically we can provide access to it. It is secured access.
So I'm with Washington County, for example, southeastern Wisconsin. Could we go back and enter? Could we jump in and utilize your system? Sorry.
So
Could a county government or town, village, city, whoever wants to, jump in and all share the same interface as WisDOT?
So at this time, I'm not aware of any discussions to have additional municipalities entering information into this system. The challenge with databases is you get too much going in, it ends up just being too large. And I'm going to tap, Drew can shake his head on this one. It's open source, how do I want to say this? There's no proprietary, WisDOT can't tell another group, you can't use this loaded onto your computer, make your own database with the same programming. Help me, because I don't know the technical language. I'm drowning, Drew.
So if we can get you access, you would have access to the web portion. So you would be able to attach documents, do searches, find existing data. The edit portion that requires ArcGIS on your desktop, I think is more challenging to grant access to, and I'm not sure we'd be as likely to change that policy, but we'd certainly be willing to entertain pilot counties or municipalities if there's a benefit to sharing that data and granting access. I would want to get with Mike Roach and discuss, should we be granting access to others outside of DOT?
Other than that, when the system was created, and I don't understand copyrights and so forth, there's something to do with, because it was created by a government, we can't sell it to other municipalities, but they can take that software and use it separately from us, something to that effect. Talk to your technical people about that. But,
It would be easy to get you access to the website. It would be challenging to get you access to the ArcGIS.
so it's easy to give access to people, appropriate people, to the web piece, but because the ArcGIS piece, you have to be on our intranet to use it. That's much more challenging at this point. But maybe, if we decide, if policy, you meet with Mike Roach and they decide, well, we don't want you using our system, there may be a way for you to take the same programming and create your own database in your computers.
Yeah, if someone, let's say if you made changes to your database, does your database keep track of the trail of who made the changes at what date, what time?
Yeah, so the only way that I believe it would do that is if you looked at the backup information, the backup tapes of the information. But other than that, there's not much of a trail. Some things get tagged with the username. There's a spot where we can add comments to to a particular file and those comments. It shows who put those comments in and when. But there are many pieces of data. There's not an easy trail. I would imagine somewhere in the back room that the computer programmers and the folks who can see all the extra data have a way. But that would be a deep dig.
That's for a lot of studies. That's very important. We want to know when certain decisions were made.
So yeah, sometimes you need to know when certain decisions were made. So we have, for every kind of record, it has an area to add comments. So you can say, I decided this here because of. I decided this here because of. My phone's telling me I'm out of time. One concern that we often have is, what if someone goes in and manipulates data, purposely destroys data, whatever? That's always a concern, and that's part of why we're pretty selective about who gets access to the system.
I just wanted to make one comment. I oversee the litigation and property inquiries and real estate, and two benefits I find in this program. Pre-60 plats are always in there. You can search them by the quarter section, which is wonderful. The other thing is we find the driveway permits. We just had a $3.5 million appeal for people wanting us to buy out their business, and I found a driveway permit in there. It said that we had the right to remove those driveway access points to the state highway at any time we see fit, and that saved us.
And it was easy to get to.
Yeah, it was very easy to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can yell it. So if like say there's an accident or a fatal accident at a driveway or some form of access, and could a lawyer request access to this?
So the question is, if an attorney wanted access to this information, this is all public records. So everything that's in here can be requested through open records requests, but they would not get direct access to the database. They would have to do open records. All right, well, I appreciate you coming. Hopefully you got some interesting things to consider. And we have a break, and then everyone's going to be meeting back in this room for a large group session. Thank you.